Hey guys, what's going on? Josh, Rise Above Health here. Coming to you guys on a bit of a somber note today to talk about the untimely passing of Leo and longevity. I wanted to wait probably about a week or so before I recorded this and put it out, but it seems like there's a lot of videos going up already, and I just wanted to add some elements to the conversation that I'm not really seeing being covered, at least so far. So, first of all, of course, Leo passed away this week, and just wanted to express condolences to his friends and family, and get in context some of the elements that may have led to, if not Leo's passing, and certainly the trajectory that he was on. I try to learn from everything and everyone, and that includes the bad stuff as well. Try to learn from the negative. I want to say before I get started, I'm not really going to speculate directly on the cause of Leo's death. Instead, I'm going to cover my view of Leo's legacy as someone who was an avid consumer of his content, but also someone who had watched him for, but someone who had watched the trajectory that he was on, and kind of see what lessons I can take away and share with you guys. So firstly, I just want to say, in terms of legacy, Leo was a very unique individual in his ability to assimilate and explicate information, particularly with regard to pharmacology and neurobiology, biochemistry. And he did a really great job at compiling lots of information and teaching his viewers about the human body. I think that's when Leo was at his best, is when he was sharing that knowledge. His series on the cholinergic system, the dopaminergic system, the serotonergic system, I found to be very useful in cutting time off, navigating the biohacking aspects of these systems, what they can be targeted to do in the body, and some of the compounds and targeting mechanisms that you can use with that respect. Somebody who has previously had large bouts of anxiety, I've talked about it on the channel. Leo's information in that regard was very helpful, and I actually had a consult or two with Leo, and he provided me big time tips that cut a lot of time off of my own research. So I wanted to say thank you again to Leo for that. With regards to legacy, I think his viewers and subscribers will remember him as somebody that provided a lot of value, very knowledgeable, and I think he did a lot for people in that way. The changes that we saw in Leo in the last, let's say, 18 months or so, things kind of went in a slightly different direction than what got, they say stick to what got you to the dance. And I think Leo stopped doing that at a certain point. Some of that may have had to do with existing issues that Leo may have experienced in the past, but were, again, exacerbated by some of the compounds he might have been using. Particularly like PEDs, anything that was particularly androgenic, and it created a change in Leo from sort of his channel first blew up to towards the latter portion of his channel. I don't know what conditions Leo may have had, but he's mentioned a lot about it in his previous videos. And somebody who's had issues with violence and anger, but also anxiety and injuries, difficulty with memory, which led Leo to a lot of his interest in pharmacology. But I think in light of that, seeing the change in Leo was applying a lot of what is called polypharmacy, and that's essentially using multiple different compounds from within either the same class of medications or different ones, and in some cases even peptides and performance enhancers. So this one channel had a really great video about it with regard to Leo. I'll have to link it in the description of this video, but essentially talking about polypharmacy, metabolism of various compounds and how they can impact one another in terms of bioavailability out of and above the therapeutic window. For example, if you take drug A that utilizes a certain pathway within the liver with regard to CYP enzymes, that could potentially elevate the amount of another compound that you're taking and its metabolites. Generally speaking, if you're taking a polypharmacy approach, you want to formulate a really comprehensive and thorough investigation map of what that potential stack looks like and how it could possibly play out with regard to CYP metabolism, but also, mechanisms of action, contraindications, all of these things, and potential for, let's say, side effects elsewhere in the body, whether that's a change in a biomarker or something related to the secondary messenger system, sodium channels, ion channels, potassium channels, but also organ function. So that was a really great point in that video. And I think it's tough to say, and we may never know what Leo's approach to polypharmacy was, and whether he gave due consideration to taking these different compounds of different classes and also using PEDs. And I think he undoubtedly had a very liberal approach. You can fairly safely say that Leo certainly had pre-existing conditions. And how that played out in terms of all of the different compounds he was using, it's very difficult to say, but given the trajectory and what's ended up happening. And again, that's not to speculate on the cause of Leo's unfortunate, untimely passing, but more so, you could view it as a chain or a series of events, a trajectory that led to his passing. So I think it's very important to take a look at that if you're someone who's into biohacking and you are excited at the concept of controlling your own biology through different compounds, to always remember to do your due diligence and be somewhat conservative in your approach. Stick to well-researched compounds unless you have a specific need that isn't served, a specific urgent need that isn't being served anywhere else. But generally speaking, stick to what's researched, and then do your own research on, into drug interactions, CYP pathways, the kinetics of the things that you're trying to use. And this is, commentary for people who are into biohacking and do these things, are interested in doing these things. Of course, you should always build any stack. And I would say, for disclaimer purposes, you should build any stack with the oversight and the assistance of a qualified medical professional. But, there was a real change in the tone of Leo's videos, and it was unfortunate, but I think you catch more flies with honey, especially as a content creator, and those relationships that you build can be so valuable. I understand things are a bit different in the bodybuilding space because there's a lot of different voices out there, a lot of bro science out there as well. So I understand that things are a bit different there. The relationships that you build with people matter, and maintaining those relationships, unless they somehow become irreparable. If a lot of your relationships are going down the tubes and you're, it might be time to take a look at that and see how you can reverse course. So, the way things ended up for Leo, I think we should all take a look at and try to take into consideration what we can learn from this unfortunate event, but also how we can apply those lessons in our own lives. Like I said, Leo, very informative, very intelligent guy. But there were certain things that will be remembered, but there are also certain negative things that will always be associated as well, regardless of how you feel about that. Try to always take into account the second and third order consequences of all your decisions as best you can. Try to maintain those relationships in a positive manner. If you're into biohacking, make sure you're aware of the risks of polypharmacy. Do your due diligence. Even I would say go as far as, I build out for any stack that I entertain. I build out an Excel. I built out an Excel sheet, and I run it through every single possible outcome that I can find, down to the metabolism of the drug, down to the possible side effects, down to the biomarkers that can be affected. And I do cross-referencing on possible interactions, and of course taking a conservative approach as well. Getting huge, but that's a choice. You can always be happy with the right mindset, or within their genetic limitations with the right mindset. So a lot to be learned here. And again, rest in peace to Leo. My condolences to his family and friends. And of course, we'll wait for the toxicology report to come out and the autopsy to come out to find out exactly what led to Leo's untimely passing. But again, I do want to point out cautious approach when it comes to biohacking. Not because it isn't useful, not because people shouldn't take control of their biology and own their health, but more so because the more ownership you take, the more risk there is in general. So, and that goes for all areas of life. I wanted to put this piece out into the YouTube ether because there's a lot of commentary going on, and I wanted to provide a sort of a rational. I wanted to provide a pragmatic, a realistic point of view on what's happened, and again, rest in peace. And all right, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next one.